Hey, welcome back. Joe Blasco here, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Michael Key.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
My pleasure. Hey, what have you been doing? You've been all over town. Did you just get into town, or what's going on?
I just got in town just a few hours ago, and you're my first stop, really. Actually, that's not true. I stopped at one place. I have a secret stash where I can get period magazines from other eras, and I stopped by there on the way. But you're my first main stop.
Thank you. What period magazines? What type of magazines? What type of?
Everything. Just every magazine, every era. In fact, they have thousands of Vogue magazines dating back to the very originals. There's places where I can go, and it's a stash where I was able to find this treasure trove of magazines. And when I need to find period magazines, that's where I go. I find Vogues there, L's, Vanity Fairs, as long as it's been around.
Is it a secret, or can you tell us where it is?
All right, I'll let the secret out. I'll give a little plug. It's a wonderful place in Burbank called, what is it? Movie? I've forgotten the name. It's movie.
You know what we'll do is we'll put it up at the end of the show on one of the cards, so you're not going to miss out on it.
But just don't buy all the magazines. Leave some for me, will you?
But this is good. Now you do this for research for Makeup Artist Magazine, for period makeup, or for your own makeup files and collection?
Well, I learned about it when I was carrying a case, and I'd be doing period shows. I needed to find things, and finding especially color photography for things pre-1940 was difficult until recently. Now, because of the internet, there's more research is available. But to find really great reference material for pre-1940 was very tough, and I discovered this in the 1980s. This one store that had these, and they have. You walk into it and you think they don't have that much, and it's all underground.
Right. Whoa.
It's a treasure.
I love it. I want to go there. I want to know where this is. Hey, before Makeup Artist Magazine began, there's many magazines that deal with beauty makeup across the board, and there had been for years, Glamour Magazine, et cetera, et cetera. During the 50s, there was Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine that Fari Ackerman created. Mm-hmm. And now, of course, there's Fangoria magazine that followed in the footsteps of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. But your magazine, Makeup Artist Magazine, is really a combination of everything. If you're either a makeup artist or a makeup fan, as many of you are out there, this is the magazine where you're going to be able to find it all. You see beauty makeup, you see all form of character makeup, including construction makeup, prosthetics makeup. All of this is able to be found there. And so it's across the board. Now, of all of the, firstly, I want to congratulate you.
Thanks.
Congratulations. I mean, this man really has done something here by creating this magazine. This was no easy feat, I'm sure. Tell me, let's go back in history. Tell me how you got the idea to develop Makeup Artist Magazine. Where did it come from?
It came out of being a member of Local 706, and when I ran to be the craft president, which is a meeting for technique and products. It's one of the best things that the union does.
Right. I was once the president of the craft meeting as well. Yeah, I know what that's about.
It really is, as you know, it's one of the
very
things
important.
that's not political.
Yeah.
The union. It's really super. You get to talk to the people that are the best in the world at what they do.
Absolutely.
And have them share their knowledge, and they freely share.
Right.
And when I came into the local and started seeing the craft meetings, I just thought this is fantastic, and I always attended them, and the craft meetings were very important to me. And then I discovered that the local had a backlog, a library, if you will, of these craft meetings that were on tape, and I didn't know that. And I went to the local, and they were on VHS tapes, and I started putting them in the machine there at the local. And it was horrifying. They were deteriorating, these tapes. Some of the stuff from the 70s, as far as back as that, makeup artists doing work. And you could tell they're doing something like laying a beard, but you can't really see the work because the tapes had deteriorated. And I thought that was a crime. So I started videotaping the craft meetings myself on high 8.
Yes.
And so it would be a higher quality to hopefully try to carry the torch and then turn it over to some other young lad or gal later on, so that we wouldn't lose this heritage.
Right.
In doing that, I got very involved in the craft meetings and about technique and product and sharing of knowledge and education. And so when I ran for the president, when Alan Friedman stepped down, another makeup artist that we both know. And
Where is Alan these days?
you know, I thought I almost saw him today. I was driving and I saw somebody in a car, and it's like, that looks like Alan Friedman.
Somebody told me he was in North Dakota or someplace.
He could be. I haven't heard from him in years.
Wherever you are, Alan, give us a call. We miss you.
But when he stepped down, I ran and became the craft president, and was the craft president for 8 years, which is the longest anyone's ever held the office.
That's amazing.
Everybody else usually gets tired of
That's
it and done
amazing.
with it. But when I ran for the craft president position, I wanted to bring something to it. I didn't want to just perpetuate someone else's done. I wanted to bring something to the game. So I thought, well, I can create a newsletter, at least something that's colored and something
Right.
a little bit better than a kind of garage sale flyer, which
Right.
is what the local had been putting out for these meetings. And so I had been experimenting with Photoshop for computer makeup design and doing some graphics. So I created, I went to the local and I created, what I found out was this. Let me back that up.
How old were you when you were doing all this? How long ago was this?
This was 1995.
Oh, it's relatively recent.
Yeah, it all happened rather quickly, this
Right.
little bit that happened. And I wanted to have it printed. And when I didn't know anything about printing at the time, so I went to a printer and said, how much would it cost to print 4 color, so it's full color? And it costs just as much to do 1 page as it would to do 4. So I thought, okay, well, instead of a flyer, I'll do a little newsletter type thing. Went to the local and asked for, I said, well, we can do this, it'll only cost $500.
$500.
They thought I was asking for blood money or their firstborn, or they didn't really have a vision for it.
Right.
And I'm actually thankful that that was the case. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did.
Yeah.
So I went and raised the money myself and put out the flyer and I did 3 of these newsletters.
Yes.
And the third one took me like a month to do because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have any help. So
Isn't that always the case? You know, when you have a vision, it's so difficult to have others to share that vision, you know? So you're normally on your own at first, you know, and then when people see that you're, you know, hey, this guy's got something going, then
Yeah, once you see
everybody
it.
wants on the bandwagon.
part of it. So I decided that I'm going to quit doing this as a newsletter and do it as a magazine.
Right.
And there's another reason why I did that one. Is because I felt that the general public needed to know what a motion picture makeup artist contributes to the
Absolutely.
screen. Because our work is usually invisible. If it's done well,
right.
except for the fantastic makeups, you don't realize that there's any work done there.
That's right.
So much like I patterned it after American Cinematographer.
Yes.
I had bought several issues of American Cinematographer, never had any interest or aspirations of becoming a DP.
Right.
But I did it because I was interested in the behind-the-scenes movie
Yes,
making. I
absolutely.
thought in the same way, we will elevate awareness for our craft
Right.
by having it on the newsstand so that the average person could see that.
Yes.
And so with total ignorance and not knowing that most magazines fail, went into the magazine business.
Well, we're very glad for that. I think I speak for all makeup artists out there who see the magazine all the time and learn from the magazine. To what degree were you instrumental in helping or in creating the Artisan? Did you work on the Artisan, the local 706?
No, I did not work in
publication?
the Artisan. If I'm not mistaken, Marvin Westmore created the Artisan in the
Artisan.
mid-'70s.
Yes.
Maybe in the early 70s. And it ran for a time. It was just a little pamphlet then.
Yes. It went that far back? Marvin started
Yeah, it was
that far
very
back?
early, just a
Really?
little pamphlet thing that they had. And it ran a few issues and then it stopped. And then they relaunched the Artisan some years later, probably in the late 90s, early turn of the century, new century.
Yeah, I know that it seems to be doing quite well, the Artisan as well, as a union type of publication. But you've gone now. Your Makeup Artist magazine it's huge. I mean, take a look at this. Here's some older issues.
There's some
This
ancient
is-
history.
Yeah, this is ancient history here. This is from the Flintstones. I did all the body makeup, and we made all the liquid body makeup for this picture. This is terrific. But this was one of the earlier magazines. We'll put it over here. And another. Okay. There's a nice, great cover. Nice beauty. Asian makeup here on the cover. Okay. And this is what the magazine looks like today. Now the binder is obviously a little thicker here, a lot thicker actually. So that means that the magazine has grown considerably. There's a lot more to find in Makeup Artist magazine than back in those early days. Let me go away from the magazine for a second. Where are you from? I mean, you're local, aren't you? You're from this area, or where were you
Kind of a mixed
born?
bag. I was born in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And then when I was 5 years of age, I moved to the Panhandle of Texas.
Yes.
And I lived there until I was 12.
Yes.
And then I lived back here in Los Angeles for another 35 years. And then for the past 4 years, we've been up north
Right.
in the Portland, Oregon area.
When did you know you wanted to be a makeup artist, and what inspired you? When was that? How old were you when you suddenly realized, wow, that's something I want to know more about? When was that?
Well, I think the original spark goes back to the early days, much like most makeup artists. Reading Forey's magazine, Famous Monsters, was very inspirational. Also in the 60s, there was a lot of science fiction television that was there, so there was some more fantastic makeups that, as a young boy, I could understand that I was seeing makeup.
The Outer Limits, the Twilight
Outer Limits,
Zone,
Twilight Zone,
all Fred Phillips stuff and
right.
Johnny Chambers stuff.
original Star Trek
Sure.
television
Bill
series.
Tuttle and Charlie Schramm. Fun stuff.
Always fun.
And when we were kids, so we didn't know good from bad. We just, sometimes we did. If it had to really be bad, when it was really bad, we recognized it. But there was still a fascination. And it was like, even if it was like, oh, gee, I could do that, or I could do better than that, that helps. That helps a young man that has aspirations, or a young girl that has aspirations of being a makeup artist, to really, want to push ahead and to get into the field. Were your parents, were they supportive of your being a makeup artist? Or?
No, well, in the beginning, the early days, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was inspired by film and television, loved it, always have. But my early years, I was actually pursuing a music career.
You were?
I thought music would be a great way to make a living. How ignorant was that?
No.
For those, it's almost like going into acting, or I'll be a baseball star. So no, I pursued music really for the first, for about 10 years.
As a singer, or do you play
No, I
an
played
instrument?
guitar.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I played all around Hollywood here. I've played most of the rock and roll clubs on Santa Monica and
Really?
Sunset Boulevard and,
Wow.
and whatnot. And I got to about my...
I didn't know that, and I don't think anybody knows that. This is great.
Few. So in my about 24 years of age, I kind of realized that I'm not making any money here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to end up being 50 years old and only know how to do music and probably singing Feelings at the Blue Room at the Ramada Inn or something.
Right.
I did not want to have that happen to me. So I had a very serious talk with God, and I said, if you have something else you want me to do, please show me.
Yes.
Because please don't let me end up at the Blue Room at the Ramada Inn. I don't want to do that. And so I got an answer. It's funny when you have those real serious conversations,
Oh, yeah.
you get answers.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a movie called Alien,
Yes.
and I was very inspired by some of the designs in there. There was
Yes.
the face hugger that got on John Hurt's
Yes,
face.
yes.
I thought it was so brilliant because it looked like something that was anatomically feasible.
Yes.
And a part snake, part
Yeah.
scorpion, part spider.
Carlos Rambaldi, I believe, did that work. The Italian makeup artist. He's actually a special effects artist.
There, that first Alien movie that came out, I saw that, and I read in a magazine. It was Cinefex magazine. It was their very first issue that Don Shea did. Wonderful magazine that covered kind of behind-the-scenes special effects. And for the first 2 years, he did cover some more prosthetic and character makeup things. And there was a paragraph there that explained how the face hugger was done. And
Right.
basically, they sculpted it in clay, they made a plaster mold, put some rubber in it,
Right.
with an armature. It was the most basic of descriptions, but I got it. I understood. I could visualize how that was done, so I wondered if I could make one. And
It captured you.
so I went and
Yeah.
bought some materials at the local hobby store and made a lot of mistakes. Had to start over several times, but after about 7 weeks, I had a crude version of that.
Wow.
And so that was a beginning, and then things at Halloween, as people do. Then I thought, well, you know what? Gosh, probably the guys that work in motion picture and television probably make a decent living and have a lot better time than what my day job was. Like, being a musician, like a working actor. If somebody says they're an actor, you ask them, okay, what restaurant are you at? And
So it's good. So you made the right decision. What was the first film that you worked?
well, I got a job. I kind of bumped around a few makeup effect shops in the beginning on that for the first year or so, and then I got an offer to come to NBC Studios and take over their prosthetic lab, and they would teach me beauty and television makeup. That was a turning point for
Was
me.
that with Harry Blake? Was that when Harry was there?
Harry was still there. He was still doing Johnny, but Bob Scribner was the department head at that time.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Shortly after after Harry had stepped down from the department.
Yes.
And so Bob, thanks to him, it was a turning point in my career. So I started coming in there on all the game shows and Tonight Show and working with them, and they would make up their people for the evening or the day, and then I'd bring people in and they would teach me makeup. So I learned traditionally on the job, kind of like old school
That's great.
way of doing things.
What did you at that point then? Did you enjoy doing the regular makeup, or did you yearn to go back into appliances?
Oh, it's always nice to make up pretty women. That's never been a problem for me. I've always enjoyed that, working with pretty ladies or making people up. I was always inspired by people like Bill Tuttle and Jack Don.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the people I was reading about. They told the entire story, and that was very important for even what I do today, is I saw the craft as being a whole, not being splintered, or I'm a specialist and I do this, and I only do this, and I do this, and do this. And I imagine it works somewhat for productions, but my inspiration was the guys that did it all
Yes.
on there. To me, it seemed odd when I started seeing the specialists. It'd be like if you were a director and you were casting an actress for a role in your movie, and you were talking to an actress and you're talking to them about the role, and you say, well, I've got this role, what do you think of the character? Oh, I love the character, and everything's great, I love that, but you've got a crying scene in there. I don't do crying, so maybe we can bring in another actress that can do the crying scene, and I can do the rest of it, it's not a problem.
Right.
You see where I'm going with
Right,
that?
exactly. See, you became a makeup artist. You weren't a specialist. But now, what do you see? It seems that these days, it seems to somewhat be going backwards a bit in some instances, where some makeup artists would classify putting a mustache on, or a pair of mutton chops, or doing a bruise or a cut or whatnot. They consider that to be a special effect. So and this comes from the specialists, because those people who only specialized in this or only specialized in that, whenever for instance, if you only specialized if you only did beauty makeup, and I hired you to just do beauty makeup, or I hired you on a show, and suddenly in the middle of the show we needed to do a bruise or a bald cap or a beard, hello, we've got to call in a specialist. But in fact, if you're a true makeup artist, as you are, you know how to do all this stuff. So there's no need to call in a specialist. So that's what the makeup schools are about. That's one of the reasons why I started my schools. Because I saw that when I worked at ABC Television, when we needed to do a bald cap, Rudy Horvitich had to, call in Larry Abbott or, somebody to come in to do the bald cap, because nobody could do the bald cap. So I thought to myself, well, wait a minute now. I'm going to learn how to do bald caps. I'm going to learn how to do beards. I'm going to learn how to do all these injuries too. And then obviously that kept me at ABC for 30 years. But I agree with you completely, and I think that Makeup Artist Magazine is doing exactly the same thing.
You see the reflection of that same
Absolutely.
mission statement that I have as a makeup artist
Yes.
within the magazine. I'm not trying to divide the craft, I'm trying to unite the
Unite
craft.
it, exactly, and that's what MUA-TV is all about also. That's what the schools were all about. The schools were to increase the level of education, to increase the level of sophistication, to increase, to raise the standards, if you will, And now you've done the same thing with the magazine. My God, look what you've done with the trade shows. The trade shows are phenomenal. There was never anything like that
And you see
before.
the mission statement for that. We
Right.
cover all aspects of beauty and prosthetic,
Everything.
and fantasy, theater, motion picture, print and fashion. It would probably be easier because all the prosthetic peoples, they say, well, you're catering to the beauty crowd. And the beauty crowd says, well, it's all a bunch of special effects. So it's funny how they all perceive it
Right.
differently because we are united and we try to cover everything
Right.
in there. But so sometimes it's a little frustrating trying to please everyone.
I agree. Hopefully that what you're doing with Makeup Artist Magazine and with what I'm doing with Makeup Artist Television, the people out there who are our viewers and your subscribers will understand that makeup artistry is all-encompassing. And to be a true makeup artist across the board, one must, know it all.
There are people like Dick Smith who
Absolutely.
decided to just delve into the prosthetic side of things. Although Dick is he was a
Have you seen Dick do beauty
consultant
makeup?
for Vogue. Did you know that?
He does a beautiful beauty makeup. Yes, I did know that he was.
He was a consultant for Vogue
And so
magazine.
in Johnny Chambers also. I used to watch Johnny Chambers do a beauty makeup. In fact, I worked with Johnny Chambers and Dan Strepek for 2 weeks on the movie Grease when we were shooting out at the high school in Venice. And I watched them, I thought, well, wait a minute now, is this a prosthetic? Are we doing pieces in this picture, or what is this? And there were no appliances. It was all beauty makeup. They were taking a vacation, But I watched Johnny do a makeup, and his beauty makeups were just exquisite, just as Dick's makeups are.
Johnny used to do a lot of women, and that's why when we published issue 5, way back then when we did an article on Johnny, I had a ton of pictures of women he'd made up at NBC.
Yes.
And I published several pictures of him doing beauty makeups because everyone always remembers him for the prosthetics. But he did do it all.
Oh, yes, he did. And he was at NBC just as you were at NBC.
And Stan Winston.
Yes.
A number of people went there. It's funny how that folks kind of gone through a lot of the same circles.
Yeah, and
like
Harry
that.
Blake started as the assistant department head at ABC under Rudy Horvitich.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, there are always going to be specialists, obviously. And if you're going to be a specialist, then you better damn well be a good one. You know what I mean? Because if you're only going to be in that one area of makeup artistry, then you should excel to the nth degree. And then, obviously, then you don't need to do all the other phases of makeup artistry. And Dick Smith is a great example of someone who excelled in prosthetics. And but the schools are as is Makeup Artist Magazine. You're reporting makeup artistry. You're reporting it. We're teaching it, but you're also teaching it. And now MUA TV is reporting it as well as teaching it as well. So,
Agreed.
So we and I'm really happy to have you here today, and to know that that we can work together, in a united fashion. And because we're very much doing the same thing, we're trying. Both of us are trying, to unite makeup artists worldwide. You through the magazine and the trade shows, and me through my schools and through Makeup Artist Television. And so I'm just wondering, how did you make the transition when you went from the magazine into the trade shows? What was the pattern of thought there that led you from the magazine into the trade shows?
Well, when I started the magazine, there was no way to reach professional makeup artists. It hadn't been done. So I was trying to pave a road while trying to drive on it. Which we're trying to reach makeup artists. We're making this road, but it's slow going when you're having to pave it as you're driving.
Right.
We put an ad in Fangoria, so I knew we would reach a certain amount of prosthetic folks there, but it was difficult. So as I was trying to learn what the magazine business was all about, I learned that a lot of magazines do well at trade shows. They go to trade shows, and that creates a lot of awareness.
Right.
So I started speaking to my advertisers and saying, what trade shows are you exhibiting at? What's working for you? Where are you at? And the conversations would go something like, well, we tried this show and that show, and we went to these beauty shows, but they're really hair shows. They're not really makeup shows, and they're really spa salon. And in the end, we just decided that it's not really worth the money, so we don't exhibit. After about the 10th phone call of them being almost cookie cutter, the same conversation, I realized that there needed to be a trade show for our craft and for our industry. And I also realized that we were poised and positioned to be really the people to do it. Because if a cosmetic manufacturer or a school or someone else was to try to promote this or produce it, their competitors would not want to be involved with it.
It becomes political.
We were so neutral. We were beneficial to the entire
Right.
industry.
Right.
So having been doing the craft meetings, I had a little bit of experience. Also, it was a frustration at because the craft meetings were growing to such an extent, and I had so much content there. They'd get frustrated trying to sit there. Somebody would get done, and they want to go talk to that person because they got all excited about it. And then, but the next person's coming on, so you want to be at least polite to them and show them courtesy. So in a trade show environment, people get to customize their own craft meeting, really.
Yeah.
They get to go to what education they want to. They get to go and look at what products they want to. And it doesn't have to be a situation where everyone has to sit down.
Exactly. That's brilliant.
So, see, we started the magazine. The first issue was June of '96. And on January 1st, at Fred Blau's house, who's a makeup artist.
He was just here yesterday. We did an interview with Fred.
Fred,
fantastic guy.
He on a New Year's Day, he has a tradition of making huevo rancheros and Bloody Marys for people in the industry. I was there, and several folks there. Maurice Stein and a number of makeup artists were there. So at Fred Blau's house on January 1st, 1997, I said, we're going to do a trade show. And they said, when? I said, I'm going to do it in August. And they said, oh, no, you can't do it now. You need more time to put this together.
Right.
That's not my style. So, yeah, in August of 1997, we had the very first International Makeup Artist Trade Show.
That was in Pasadena?
No, that was at the Beverly Garland Holiday Inn.
That's right.
And we broke the attendance record for the facility.
Wow.
And I was wondering if anybody was even going to show up, because everybody was coming to the craft meetings for free, and I think we did it one day and charged, I think, $10 a head. And I just wasn't sure if anybody was going to do it. And people came from around the world. It looked like the Beatles were playing there. It was crazy.
How did you advertise that?
We advertised it in our magazine, of course. We did it in Cinefix. I'm not sure if we did anything in Fangoria. We did Hollywood Reporter.
Do you go beyond Makeup Artist Magazine in your advertising? Do you advertise the magazine in other magazines, or the trade show in other magazines?
Usually the trade show, not the magazine, because I feel that we kind of grew up with the internet in a way, because the internet came about the same time as the magazine. Thankfully so. That's how we became an international magazine with issue 2.
Yes.
And that wouldn't have happened if it had not been for the internet.
What do you see? What's the future? Do you plan to continue producing the actual hard copy magazine?
Oh, yes.
Or do you see that eventually everything is going to be internet?
No, we've always been on the internet. The internet is a strength for us, and we see it as a tool. It's a different part of the pie. I think the print publication will always be around because people like having something tangible to hold in their hands.
They collect
I know
it.
that I do.
Yeah.
I like to do that. I like the internet, but I also like the printed that.
I still have a collection of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. It dates all the way back to 1955. Yeah, it's amazing.
But what we do on the internet is, we just revamped makeupmag.com, which is our flagship. That's the main website for the magazine. We just completely rechanged that around so that people can access information so much better than ever before.
Yes.
And also our consumer beauty site, which is makeup411.com.
Yes.
That's a beauty site that has the beauty breakdowns for every actress in every motion picture, television show, and most of the music videos. So you can go there and you can say, if you want to see what, Gwyneth Paltrow, you want to see what the latest makeup that she's wore, you can look her up and you can see all the movies that she's done, and you can see the different makeups that she's wore.
That's really great.
And that we had since, I think it was
That's been a while.
99, 2000.
Yeah.
Now, when we
Great
completely
idea.
rebuilt it, now what happens is you click on there and you go, oh, who did this makeup? And you see the makeup artist's name and you click on their name.
Yes.
Now it shows you all the makeups that they have on the entire site. Also, the same thing for the product. Let's say that they're wearing a Joe Blasco foundation.
Yes.
They click on that foundation, you will see all the other makeups of these celebrities that are wearing that product.
What a great idea.
There's a really wonderful part of it called the best of the best. And what that is, it's on the database, because the whole thing's database driven now. So you can look and see which foundations and which lipsticks and all these different products are being used the most on these women.
Yes.
Which is a different list than asking a celebrity what's their favorite product, or even asking which makeup artist what their favorite product is.
Which tells you across the board what all makeup artists in general, perhaps, or most makeup artists are wanting to use more than others. So it really tells you who the who's who as far as makeup products are concerned. in Hollywood.
It is. It's a running tally.
Yeah,
And our
that's
next
great.
step, what it is fulfillment. So that if somebody was to go there and they click on that Joe Blasco Foundation, so that they go, oh, wow, this is neat. Where can I get that?
Right.
They'll be able to click on that there, and it'll take them where they can
Where to buy
that.
it. Yeah, that's genius.
And we're wanting to do that with all of the products
Right.
that are on
We
the
have to
site.
talk about that, don't we?
Sure. We'd love to be able to connect people up and so
Right,
that they
right,
know
right.
the great products that
Yeah,
we make.
that's terrific. Have you ever had to stop the presses on the magazine if there's a breaking story? Have you ever done that? I used to work for the LA Times, and occasionally when they have a big story, it'd stop the presses, it'd stop everything, and it'd revamp the whole thing. This was back in the days when they had linotype machines, Has that ever occurred where something pops up in the industry and you have it, you're like going to press, getting ready to print, and you just stop everything and you start all over again?
Well, one thing, being a small company, being a small publisher, we can turn on the dime. That's one of our strengths of being small. So we could, if something was to happen the day before,
Right.
we can make a change and push it a day, we would do that. I've never had to stop the presses because of another story that's come up.
Right.
Once
it gets
stopped
there,
the
that's
presses
it.
really where stop the press, turn it off.
Yeah.
Only once.
Yeah, for color, something wrong with the
There
color
was
you weren't
something
approving?
really wrong with the color, and I
Yeah.
said, this is not something we can make a minor adjustment to.
Yeah.
There's something
Yeah.
wrong with this, and we're not going
Right.
to let this go.
Yeah,
I said, turn it off.
I experienced that, Mike, when I wrote the book with
Right.
Vincent Kehoe. The color had to be perfect. If the color, you're writing a book on makeup, and if the color isn't right, then it's all down the drain.
Now, along the same lines, what we did, I didn't stop the press, but I had them reprint a cover.
Yes.
They did a typo in Dick Smith's name. I could not put out a cover of the magazine that said Dick Smithis. So it's real rare. If you find one of those out there, there's probably one of 5 in
It's
existence.
a collector's item.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
Oh, yeah,
Of course
I've
you
got a
do.
couple.
Did you send one to Dick?
No.
No.
No, I didn't tell him.
You
to
heard
screw
it
up his
first
name.
here on MUA TV, Dick. Oh my. Let's say of all of your subscribers, would you say that the majority of your subscribers buy the magazine to look at the special makeup effects, or because of the beauty, or is there any way to gauge that, to determine that?
It's different from, say, point of purchase at Barnes & Noble or Borders versus subscribers. I think our subscribers are across the board. We have some people that only want to see prosthetic characters, and we have other people that only want to see beauty. In fact, we have some people who subscribe to the magazine and then they say, oh, no, I can't look at this magazine because there's things in here that are not pretty. And they have only pretty magazines. So I would say our subscribers, those readers, I'd say that's pretty even. We can see and track what happens at point of purchase of what covers will sell and which ones don't.
Which covers sell?
Ones that people identify with, being that our magazine is sold in the entertainment section of the newsstand. So we have to make decisions based on that. If our magazine was sold in the
Beauty.
more the beauty and the fashion
Right.
side, we would make different choices on
Right.
covers. We can't put just not faceless, that wouldn't be correct. We can't put just a model on the cover.
Yes. It'll
like
get
you
lost.
showed one.
It'll be lost with all the other magazines. if
Well,
you
the
did
thing
that.
is, in the entertainment industry, if they look at a face and they don't recognize the face, it's dead. They're not going to look at it. There's a beautiful makeup that, one of the ones you showed over there, that was a model. And it's wonderful makeup, but they didn't know who she was, and so that one didn't sell
Right,
well.
right.
There's another one that you showed, which had a gal from Xena, Lucy Lawless, I
Yes,
think her name
yes.
is. That thing was kind of a last minute put it on the cover.
Right.
And it was one of our best sellers
And it
at
popped.
that time.
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't know that was she had a huge following.
Yeah.
She had a really huge following, so it did well. So we find that if we put a movie or a television show, something like that, being it's in the entertainment industry side, it'll do well. If we're going to do a beauty cover, it really needs to be a celebrity that's been made up. It's a beauty makeup on an actress. That's what I was looking for, was an
Right,
actress.
right.
If we put an actress on the cover, it's great. Like when
Yeah.
we had gal from Sex and the City. When we had her on the cover, it went like hotcakes. They go crazy over it.
Yeah. Talking of just subscriptions now, not street sales. Of all of the subscriptions that you have, how many would you say percentage-wise are makeup artists as opposed to makeup fans?
I think there's very few people that are. Well, it might be semantical what a makeup fan is. I think people come to schools like yours. They get interested in makeup. You're talking about subscribers.
Right,
If somebody
exactly.
subscribes to the magazine, they're really interested in being a
Right.
makeup artist.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody who doesn't have a case and doesn't
Right.
have brushes and they're
Right.
just looking at it.
I don't know anybody that has gotten really interested in makeup in one way or another that hasn't really aspired to want to do more. You know, to either have it like Bob Burns. You remember Bob Burns? I don't know that Bob
Sure.
Burns really ever became a consummate makeup artist, but he was, you might say, like the epitome of like the world's best makeup fan, you know, in all the world. Like Faria Ackerman was the big sci-fi fan. In fact, he coined the phrase sci-fi, you know. So,
At least Bob was in front of the camera, though, because he wore his
Yeah.
gorilla suits.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he had relationships with people in our
He
business.
loved makeup. He loved the makeup end. Oh, yeah. Is Bob is still with us,
Oh,
right?
sure he is.
Yeah.
He's still got that time machine of his.
He does.
Yeah.
Oh, my, the original time.
He has the original time machine from George Powell's time machine, not the more recent remake,
Right,
but he
no.
has the one with Robert Taylor.
I would love to see that. My God, I have to give Bob a call.
You should.
Do you
should go see it.
communicate with him? Have you spoken to him?
It's been probably a couple of years since I've talked to Bob, but no, he still does great.
Yeah, that's
John Goodwin, who writes for us and has since all the way to the newsletter.
Yes.
He and Bob are close
Are they
friends.
close?
So
Yeah.
I hear about what's going on with Bob usually through John.
Right, right. I think John is doing some work with NAMI's. They're putting together some videos for NAMI's website, which should be quite nice. I should have.
Now that would make sense because he was doing some demos in Amy's booth
Right,
at
right,
the
right.
IMAX
Exactly,
show in June.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because I was talking to Sam from NAMI's, and Sam was telling me that they're putting together and they offered to allow us also to use on MUA TV, which will be really special, some of the videotapes that they're doing, that John is doing
Excellent.
for their website, which I'm really excited to see. And so let's talk about how does hairstyling, because you know there are a lot of hairstylists, you know, because it's makeup artists and hairstylists. To what extent does Makeup Artist Magazine also cater to the hairstylists?
When we first started the magazine, within the first year, we almost started a professional hairstyling magazine for people in our industry, motion picture and television. And I came right up to the chasm of looking over that and decided, no, I'm not going to make this jump because it wasn't a passion of mine, and it wasn't. I felt I didn't know enough about it to do that. You shouldn't get involved with that. Paul McCartney got some great advice from his father-in-law once. He was about ready to invest in some race cars, and his father-in-law was quite the financial giant, and said, "What do you know about race cars?" He goes, "Well, not a lot. I know they do this and this." He says, "If you don't know that much about it, don't invest
Don't
in
do
it.
it.
Invest in something you know about."
Absolutely.
And then Paul went into music publishing, and he's one of the biggest music publishers in the world.
Right.
So I've tried to remember that advice. So since even though I'm a makeup artist and work with hairstylists and consider them colleagues, that is not my craft. That is not my passion. So I chose not to do it. In the United States, I'm talking about the shows now, IMATS LA, we have very little, there's only a little bit of hairstyling that takes place there. Now, IMATS that we do in London,
Let me interrupt. IMATS, International Makeup Artist Trade Show. IMATS. Go ahead.
our London show, there, since the BBC, most of the people have come up that are really the people, the department heading shows now, originally came out of BBC,
Yes.
where they do makeup and hair. So that's a part of their culture. That's the way their makeup community is.
Yes.
So we integrate that. Say, for instance, the makeup competition.
Yes.
There, we grade also on hairstyling as well as makeup.
Same.
At the LA show, we only do makeup. Now, you'll let a little something out of the bag. We're going to do a show next year in Sydney, Australia.
So that's finalized.
That's finalized.
I was
We will do
waiting
that.
to hear about that. That's terrific.
So you're hearing about it first here, even before
right.
it's in our magazine.
You heard it first right here on MUA TV, right from Michael Key, the editor of Makeup Artist Magazine. So it may be fun to go to Sydney, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we're still trying to decide. We're still learning about the subtleties and the nuances of the Australian makeup community and how that they want to do that.
Is it a
to
large
fine-tune it.
community? I know that in New Zealand they're producing a tremendous amount of film there.
Well, when we do a show, we never see it as just to that country anyway.
Right.
There have always been international. The shows have been since day one. And when we see a Sydney show, we don't see that as just Australia. We
Right.
see that as also New Zealand, and Asia is very close. The people will come from
everywhere.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
and the Australians want that as well. They want outside influence. That's one of the things. So when we went there and asked them what they want to have access to people and techniques and products that they don't always have.
Yes, yes, that's wonderful. Now tell me about the difficulties of setting up a trade show.
It's
I
crazy.
mean, it's got to be just absolutely
It is.
mind-boggling.
Anytime you get a mass of humanity together, there are things that are going to happen.
Is that what it
that
is?
You could not plan
Humanity.
for. It is. It's a mass of people. When you get a number of people, things will happen. You cannot
Right.
plan for it, and you just have to roll with it.
Right.
Much like Hollywood, the show must go on. Same
Right.
thing with a trade show.
Right.
I feel much like the guy who probably produced the Woodstock concert back in the '60s. It was a huge event, but you probably couldn't name the guy who put it on. You can say that Jimi Hendrix was there, you could say the Who
Right.
played, and you could say
Right.
Santana was there. But what was the name of the guy who put the show on? You don't know. And that's kind of like me. I'm the guy in the back
Right.
and who's trying to
Who
make
is
it
that
all
man
go.
behind the curtain?
Right.
Who's the wizard behind the curtain?
Putting on the show, it's a lot because there's the education, obviously, there's exhibitors, there's lighting, video, sound,
Right.
cameras like what you do here. We do a talk show there where we
Yes.
sit and have a chat with a makeup artist. There's security that's there. There's have to have paramedics there. It's nuts.
Can you name any specific event and talk of something that may have occurred during that specific event that just came out of left field that you didn't expect?
Oh, sure. One morning I came in, and we do the show on a Saturday and a Sunday. And usually Sunday morning is the calmest time on a show. On Saturday morning, everything's getting started and everybody's nuts, and that's when you have total chaos. And at the very end of the show, there's tension comes up a little bit because everybody's getting ready to tear everything down.
Right.
Kind of like a cruise. The middle
Right.
of the cruise is the easiest going part. Same thing for a trade show. When the middle of the show is the easiest. Sunday morning is usually a cakewalk. Sunday morning, it was in our Los Angeles show. I come in the morning, and it's raining in V. Neal's booth. There's, from the catwalks, there's waters coming down, going into a big, 55-gallon drum-sized trash can. And how do you plan for this? There's no contingency plan for, you don't think about that coming down.
Right.
So what do? You find a way.
All right, get on the roof.
You get engineering up there and get your trash can and help her out. And everybody moved everything aside, and in a short time, after time, we got it all together.
The Westmores just recently received a star on Hollywood Boulevard.
I was there.
And you were there, and I heard that there was a similar type of event that occurred.
Yes.
I mean, after all of these years of waiting for this star, which is a long, long overdue honor to this fantastic family of makeup artists who honestly were the pioneers of makeup departments
Agreed.
in all the major studios. It's amazing what these men did. They finally get their star on Hollywood Boulevard, and right as they begin the ceremony, there's something coming down. There's they're doing construction on the building there, and there's water that came down right on the star.
That was crazy. I think somebody was up there with a hose. I think people, it's one of the unfortunate things.
You think it was
for LA.
Max Factor?
Now, see, I understand what you're talking about. I don't think that they know.
I don't know.
They get that.
I don't know.
Or the animosity. There's some history there, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
there's the spirit of Max Factor up there.
That's
He's
good.
been hanging around since 1939.
Max getting his revenge.
But I tell you, they fixed it very quickly. They fixed it quickly, and they went on with the event, and it was a fantastic event.
Oh, it was great.
I had a camera crew there, And
I know, they kept
yeah.
trying to get my guys, I'm trying to get them over for a photo, and they were trying to get Marvin to interview him, and I was like, wait, let's get the picture.
Yeah, Mike, I think we talked to Marvin.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but we talked to Mike at length.
Yes, you did.
And a great guy. As a matter of fact, I spoke to Mike yesterday, and he's agreed to come on the show as a guest.
Good.
And which is really, really an honor for us here at MUA TV. But you know what we're going to do right now? We're going to stop just for 1 second, and we've got a few words that have to be told, and we're going to be right back, so don't go away.
Do you have the passion of an artist? Does the idea of working on a living canvas thrill you? For over 30 years, Joe Blasco has pioneered the ultimate training for film and television makeup artistry. Students are taught to become professional makeup artists by industry professionals at our state-of-the-art facilities in Hollywood and Orlando. Join our award-winning graduates and realize your dream of becoming a professional makeup artist today. Visit us at joeblasco.com or call 323-467-4949 to schedule a tour of our campus.
Welcome back. Joe Blasco here for MUA TV, and we have Mr. Michael Key from Makeup Artist Magazine and the Makeup Artist Trade Shows. Michael, you've just told us about the fantastic new show that's going to be held in Sydney, Australia. Have you ever given any thought, perhaps? I know you've done New York, but nothing south of New York on the East Coast.
No, we've never done a show in New York.
You didn't do a New York show?
No, we've never produced a New York show. We've looked at that several times, and
I thought you had.
No.
You know what I'm thinking? It was so dynamic, I've mistaken it for a show. It was the New York issue of the magazine.
Yes, we've done a few
Yes.
New York issues, and we've had parties there. We did a celebration of
Right.
30 years of Saturday Night Live, and we've
Right.
done things, but we haven't done a trade show there yet.
Right. Well, the Powder Group is there. I know that.
Yeah, they've done a show
Yeah.
a couple of times
Yeah.
there.
What about Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Atlanta's kind of like the New York of the South, you know?
But what I look at, because everybody always wants us to bring the show to them. We found that out after doing the very first show. No one wants to travel. They want to sit back. Okay, just bring the show. Just bring it right here. There you go. Just bring it right to me. And they don't want to travel in there. If they're in Oklahoma City, they want us to bring
Right.
the show there. What I look at is see, is there a motion picture industry? Is there a community? there?
Right.
So there's people that are indigenous that
Well,
we
New
can
York is
pull
the- yeah.
as educators and
For the
keynote
East.
speakers.
Yeah. For the East, it would be New York. For motion picture, I would think.
Well, I find that, we have people coming from 50 countries around the world.
Yeah.
And if they consider anybody in the United States to be basically here, if
right.
you're coming from, people have been coming from Australia all
Right.
these years, well, gosh, it's right there. You're there in the
Right.
United States. You're in close to Los Angeles.
Yeah, you're very smart, I think, in doing what you did in Los Angeles, London.
Well, we'll now be 3 continents is
Mm-hmm.
what we're looking at. And so that we can be able to, network people. That's one of the things that we do is we bring people together. We want to be able to network and empower people to be able to exchange information and share with one another. That's what we do with the shows and the magazine.
How many exhibitors are normally taking part in a show?
About 100 well, depending on the show. London is about the same size as LA now, so we're 100 plus, 120, 130.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people to
We
organize.
started with 30 at the Holiday Inn back in
Isn't that
'97.
amazing? Isn't that amazing? You know, I do you remember coming to any of the craft meetings that I did? for
No,
local
when I
center?
came into the local, I want to say John Rizzo was craft president.
Yeah, because I was craft president, and then after me was, I believe it was Marvin Westmore,
'Cause before me it was
Yeah.
Alan, and
Yes.
before Alan, I think it was John.
and then
I don't know if
then
it was Marvin.
Right.
It might have been when Marvin was there, I forget.
Right. But I did one show that I was really proud of, because most of the shows were all, just in a room and you'd be doing one thing. I did one show. I was living in a loft downtown in the old Pabst Blue Ribbon Brewery, and I had 9,000 square feet of space that I lived in, and I was building rooms inside this place, and it was phenomenal. And I put in a bar, and I divided it into little areas. Like in the living room area, we were doing bald caps. in another area down a little further, they were doing bruises. In another area, they were doing yeah, very much like I did at one of the trade shows, where I had 16 booths.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
And in every booth, we had a little bit of everything, which was an exhibit of makeup artistry. You know, so if they were going to learn something, if you wanted to learn how to do a bald cap, you go over there. You want to learn how to do a beard, you go over there. Beauty makeup, natural there. High fashion over here. And it didn't take off. It didn't take off, and people seemed to enjoy it. But when I talked to people, they said to me, "Oh, there's just too much going on. There's just too much going on. We just want just teach us, you know, one thing at a time." But you took that formula and you made it work. You made it work.
It did work. What is a combination of a concert and a motion picture, and it took all my experience of all the things I've done before in order to be able to pull off the trade show.
Right, right. It's amazing.
And doing the craft meetings was very instrumental in that. My experience with Local 706 has been, what I received from those who came before me has been so valuable to me. Yeah. The old timers and mid timers who took the time to be able to share with me and be able to impart their knowledge and their love and passion for the craft and respect for the craft.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are still with me to this day, and and it's, you know, if I've seen further than others because I've stood on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. That's really great. Where are we going now? What's up? What's coming up in the next issue of Makeup Artist Magazine?
Well, the next issue is our 75th issue.
75 issues.
So that may not be much for Entertainment Weekly, but, you know, in dog years.
No, that's terrific. That's
for
great.
a bi-monthly magazine, that represents 12 years for us. So it's a bit of a milestone for us. So it's going to be the largest issue ever of Makeup Artist Magazine. We have some things that we're going to have inside of there that we've never done before that are special. I don't want to tip my hand too much. But we have a few articles that we've been working on, some of them for a couple of years. One of them is Where Are They Now? Talking about people in print and fashion, those people who were the leaders in the 1970s and 1980s. Where are they now? What came to those people who created those iconic images in that industry? Whereas it's different than in the motion picture and television industry, because we still have a lot of those people who were riding high then, like say Rick Sharp, who was department heading huge shows in the 1980s. He's still with us, and we still know where he's at. In the print and fashion world, it's a little different. So we're going to pull back the curtain and show what has become to some of these folks.
Great idea. Great idea. How do we become those out there that are not already subscribers? Tell them, walk them through the process. How do they become a subscriber to Makeup Artist Magazine?
Oh, it's easy. Pretty much like any other magazine. You either go online to makeupmag.com and you can subscribe there, or you can call our offices, and we're happy to take it over the phone the old-fashioned way.
And to become an exhibitor at the trade show, how does one go about doing that? Very much the same way?
Same way. That there's information online. Actually, we have PDF files of all the applications and all the information for someone to exhibit there. And once again, you can call us or email us. We're pretty easy to reach.
It's great. You've done a phenomenal job.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
It's my pleasure. Congratulations again. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Key, the creator and editor of Makeup Artist Magazine. Now, don't go away, because we're going to be right back with more makeup and hairstyling right after this.